Welcome, everyone, to the Yochum Brothers podcast. I had to think for a little bit then. What's the podcast called? Because it has been that long since we've had one. We do apologise.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? We had all sorts happening here in the great state of Victoria. In
Amazing.
Our lockdown.
Great state.
We've got, it's podcast with friends today. We've got one of our good mates, Jeremy Hicks, with us from Living Word in Brisbane, in a place where they can go outside and not wear a mask.
Basically another country.
Yeah. It feels like
pretty much life is normal up here. Yeah, sorry guys.
I see they've worked that out. They're like, we want to make sure this stays like that, so we're not letting New South Wales or the ACT in either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're like taking all of the sport in Australia to Queensland.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take the AFL, we'll take everything. Just house it up here.
Yeah. And we're happy about that. We can still watch sport. That's something. We'll take it.
That's true. A lot of my mates up here like love AFL, so they're loving all of the games that they can see up here now because all of your teams are up here playing.
Yeah. Everyone's up there.
I mean, all the good teams.
Yeah, that's it.
No, Brisbane been rocketing along.
Yeah, Brisbane's going well.
Going well doesn't mean they're a good team.
A little sports review for the start.
Gold Coast doing good.
Yep.
Gold Coast is finally actually getting some wins.
Yeah, getting some W's on the board. But it's good to see that going. Things are still happening up there. They're definitely not happening. It's sort of come to a bit of a grinding halt here. And
I'm just glad we're in Geelong and not Melbourne.
Yeah, it could be worse.
Yeah. It could be worse.
That's true. I did see today that it peaked again for you guys, so it sort of puts things in a bit of a uneasy spot with you guys moving forward, what you're doing and everything up there. So,
I think we're gonna struggle to get back to like people in the church this year. I think that would be that might be unattainable at the start. At the way things are going now, especially in Melbourne, because even once we go down, Melbourne goes down to they're in stage 4 at the moment, they go down to stage 3, and we come off stage 3 here. It still takes a little bit of time, like you guys, before you just start letting people back in. But you are starting services again?
Yeah, this Sunday is going to be our first service back together as a full church. We started the weekend just passed. We had all our leaders and helps in for the Sunday just to run it through all the protocol, and we watched the Sunday online service that we had just on the screen. So that was good. That was sort of just like a trial run with just about 40 of the team just to see how it would happen just with a small amount. It worked well. So we're going to kick off this weekend. So we've sort of done our numbers, and there's a lot of hoops we've got to jump through up here. So, so we've pretty much nailed all that on the head. Katie's been spending the last that's my wife's been spending the last 3 weeks head down, bum up into that. So, it should be good. We're all looking forward to it. The church is pretty excited. We've had a good response from a lot of people wanting to get back together. So that's always good.
And you got you were saying before you got these little scan, like the QR codes now, to scan in and out. So instead of like writing down your name and your numbers, cool. So that people can just scan in and scan out.
Well,
so
you just cut it and get like a little implant, maybe a tattoo.
Yeah, it does it. Yeah, and there's a little tattoo, and it's only got 3 numbers, which is great.
So easy.
It's fantastic. So, the QR code, it works really well because then it on a practical level with the church too, it also tracks your attendance. It doesn't track everyone, but
tracks everyone when they go home.
Well, the good thing is it gives you numbers with people there, and
send you a alert if they sin.
The details.
That sort of
how dirty they are when they walk through the door. You need extra communion today, right? Yeah. So, but that's good on a practical level. It'll just help us, keep in touch with everyone as well. So, it's just a matter of teaching people how to use it.
So, that's always the fun bit, new things.
Well, I think everything's new again, though, because everyone's going to get used to being with people again. It's going to take a while for that to be normal.
I tell you what, like, because my father's a pastor and he's old school, he just wants to hug everyone, and we're like, it starts with you. You need to stay away from
Starts with you.
Like, you've got to like elbow. That's it. You can touch people there. Like,
Well, if you go back to the implant idea and just have an electric shock one in there as well, so if you get too close to the...
A little bit
I'll take a shock collar from the dog shock collar.
Just a little bit of plastic, like the old school where the pulpit was sort of up into one corner, like you got to get stairs to go up there. So bit of social distancing while you're preaching.
Just for you.
Lock them up there.
Just lock you up there.
Yeah.
You know how the bank tellers have got like the plastic thing at the pulpit. You need a plastic thing so you don't spit on the people when you're preaching.
Well, you do get those preachers that are shouters and spitters, don't you?
Yeah.
I'll sit in the back.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the back. Yeah. Everyone's 3 rows from the front.
That's why you should be a sound guy.
It's going to be interesting getting used to speaking to people again and not a camera lens.
Definitely. How hard? Well, it's hard and it's not. It's got its own little challenge, doesn't it, when you're speaking to a camera, because you can obviously take different takes if you get it wrong in the first minute. You know what I mean? Well, you guys were going live, but we did pre-recorded. So if you started rambling, you're like, all right, I'm going to start that one again. Or if you got something wrong, but you had no emotion. Or like you're just speaking to a camera, so it's not like you're getting any feedback from people. So
sometimes that's good though.
You just picture that everyone loves it.
Isn't that what you do?
Right.
That's what you do in life, isn't it?
Everyone loves me, right? I'm shocked when someone doesn't like me.
What did I do?
The lights are so dark. Yeah, the lights are so dark at your church for that reason.
That's it.
They're loving it.
They're loving it. That's it.
We've been
All
doing
the
this
lights
for
are
years.
on me.
Yeah.
Because it's that interesting factor. People sit in church and think that you can't see them.
Yeah.
That the person sitting out the front can't tell what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's that funny dynamic because you're preaching away. Now you think that to preach, all your brain power is used up just doing what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, you're going, that person's not listening. And it plays on your mind. You got to it's like,
or that person's not listening. And what I'm saying right now would really help them.
Yeah. But getting used to that again.
You're like, are they on Facebook or are they taking notes?
Is that
They're
the Bible
notes.
app?
Let's go with taking notes.
Hey, I can do both. It's all right.
I'm taking notes on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were always worried about the congregation being on Facebook, but now they have to be on Facebook to listen to the whole service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're losing the church community to social media.
We laughed at it because when we one of the reasons we didn't live stream before the whole COVID is because people might stay at home and watch it instead. It's sort of like that which we feared came upon us.
I never got to stay at home.
No. Yeah, last Sunday we did. We did a pre-recording last Sunday.
Yeah. That was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Different setup on the lounge and that.
Yeah, I got comfy.
Quarantine special.
A bit of a quarantine special. Actually, what happened?
That was thanks to Abby.
Thanks to Abby. Abby wasn't feeling unwell, and so
just put it like she wasn't feeling well.
She wasn't feeling well. So we
she wasn't feeling unwell.
We segregated her really quickly and got her tested, but it came back negative. But in that time of
we hadn't had
testing,
the negative before Sunday.
Before Sunday, we didn't get the results back, so we're just like, we're going to do this from home.
You can stay at home.
Plus, because we'd been in contact with her.
Yeah,
if
so
she ends up being positive, then we can't be together, and so
everyone just stayed at home, and we did it from there. So we split up.
Well, it worked well.
Yeah. We set up the cameras.
That's right. Victorian government, if you're listening, we quarantined.
We did the right thing.
That's it.
Exactly.
Oh, they're listening.
Yeah.
Before we push record.
But
you were one of the people that stayed home that was supposed to be at home. So reports where there's like 800 people not at home. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's crazy. And that was a lot of that was positive tested too.
Yeah.
They
still
were
they returned the test.
Yeah. Some were at work and
that's getting nuts.
Yeah. Where's mum and dad? Oh, they're at work. Whoops.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting.
So we only had the police show up once.
Yeah, we did. We had the police called on us first time round.
A couple.
Did you at church?
Church.
But they rolled up.
they came in and we were live streaming. So
No, you're streaming.
like
That's
that.
fine. I'm like, yeah. And someone told them we had what 50 or 60 people in here.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy. So yeah, you got dobbed in. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
that was the first one. Yeah.
Well, because we shut pretty much straight away when we had to, so that we were okay with that. But then some friends of ours have a church down the coast, and they went with
They lingered a bit.
they're a little bit extra faith, so they went with
Just a bit
we'll
more than
just
you
keep
guys.
rolling. Yeah, they went, we'll just keep rolling. We won't be affected, and they had cops first meeting kick everyone out.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
It's tough. You do have to abide by the local rules.
We
Yeah.
we shut a week early
Yeah, we went a
we
week
did.
before the
mandatory one
mandatory,
came.
but we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went
Yep.
live stream straight up.
Well, the thing is, if you can, there was no point. There was no point in not closing.
Yeah, we had the capabilities of doing it, so we were sort of
Yeah.
set up,
Yeah.
semi set up before we needed to.
I think it was just a good reason for us to go online.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
we've been wanting to do it for a while.
It forced a lot of churches, we found, because we were completely offline. Let's say we didn't have a lot of social presence. Katie my wife took on the social media at the start of the year. And so we wanted to ramp that up, and it was sort of forced us to just get on board.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it was it made us get on board, but it made a lot of the other churches get on board with, 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we need to
Yeah.
keep on rolling with what's happening in the world to stay relevant in that sense. And it sort of gave everyone a bit of a shot in the arm, and which was great for us because we went online, which worked well. You had to do it out of necessity too.
Yeah.
So
are you guys going to continue to stream?
we are. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're planning on doing that. It's just it's you know what it's like. There's a lot of manpower that needs to do it at some kind of quality. So we're just sorting that out at the moment.
Yeah.
We'll probably start the first couple of weeks. We'll get the service running right first. Because obviously we don't want to produce anything that possibly might be condemning in the sense that people are being too close, so we just want to let everyone just flow in and just get the feel of what church is going to be like. And then we'll start streaming in that kind of content. So, but I think the first couple of weeks are going to be really low key. We're going to have a bit shorter sermons, but just a bit more hanging out. We got a heap of blooper reels from the filming for the last couple of months. So we're just going to go down those lines. So, and then we'll start getting back into it. So, but yeah, definitely we're going to stay online because I think it's so important. Like, we've had really good response from heaps of friends, which they knew what we were about. They knew we were into church and did stuff like that, but they didn't really know because they'd never been to church. So we even had a couple of people from our gym. One of them, Katie, caught up with from coffee last week, and she's like, "Oh, you guys make some really good points." And she does a lot of stuff on mental health and actually studying her PhD. So it was interesting she's not a Christian, but she was tying in what we talk about in the Bible with stuff that she studied. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, that was really interesting, your points that you made and what you guys were talking about." And so when you start hearing that from non-Christians, you go, "Oh, we're planting seeds." You know what I mean? So those subtle seeds that you never know what's going to turn into. So it's pretty cool.
What's your reach, capacity, not just times 10, it's, times 100, times 200, what we're reaching, which is, that's incredible. And if you think every church online is doing that, that's a big impact.
And how much content, like I've never listened to so much word in my life. Like the amount of content that's online, like I'm seriously podcasting and listening to things all week rather than music when I used to always just listen to music. Because there's just so much online. There's so much great content as well. And it's good to hear what everyone else is doing. And
I find at the moment I'm still not keeping up with everybody's, I'm just don't have enough time to keep up with what everyone's doing.
It's tough, isn't it? Like, and then you find, it is. And you find you have your favorites that you listen to each week. Like, I really like these guys from Geelong. They're really good.
Recommend.
But no, I recommend them. But that's because you guys are on before us, so we get to listen to this before we go to church. So that's cool. You're on that time slot before us. But I like been listening to like Stephen Furtick a lot lately. He's always good. And,
he always comes up in this podcast.
Every time, every week, I think.
We'll get him in there somewhere. We'll have him on one day. That's what we're going for.
That's what we're building up for.
Also, at least sponsorship.
Okay. Sponsorship or whatever, but yeah.
Stephen
Furtick, when you listen. Come on.
Steve,
Steve-o, we call him.
When you come to Australia, we throw an O on the back of that name.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Straight to Steve-o. The other ones I've really enjoyed is Carl Lentz, because he's hitting into the everything that's going on sort of in the culture side of things in the States at the moment. But there's some great there's really some good stuff out there. So it helps build you up as well and keep you rolling through the week too. So it's always good.
Yeah, exactly. We found that too. I hope that people, as churches start getting back, I hope that stays online. I hope the presence there is really strong, because it flooded the market basically of content, especially on Sundays. We were seeing churches that I haven't seen or been to for ages, and unless you were physically there, there's just no content coming. And we were like that in many respects. We always had the sermons go up on a podcast later on, but never, only audio, no visuals. You didn't see what was happening, the changes that were being made. And so it just got you connected a lot more online, even though we had a deficit in the human connection, which will be good for you guys to get back into that and building those relationships again, which I think is important. But it was so good to see that the church community continued regardless of what obstacles were thrown their way, and that the words really went out, and people could still be built up and be strong in sort of tougher times, which is really important. So you could be still a part of the community that you attended, and also still it grew, not subtracted. Churches are like that. They get scared, of people, maybe other churches in the area, but you really, it sounds bad, but you were competing now with everyone. If that, it's not a competition, but that's sort of what it was. And it actually complemented, because at least what we found, the people would watch because they were part of this community, but then they'd also watch all these others, and it would actually complement what we're doing rather than take away. Yeah, I think we've had a fear for so long of the churches maybe subtracting rather than adding to, but it's like in our human connections, by putting someone down, you don't lift yourself up. It's just
that's true.
As simple as that. It really complemented the whole wider church community, I thought, going online, and I hope that continues.
I don't know. As a production guy, I was always trying to steal everyone else's ideas. Look what they did. I can do that better. So I wasn't putting them down. It's like.
But on a practical level, how good, you could see what other people are doing, especially like maybe some bigger churches that have like a big budget or a big production team. And you go, hey, I could probably like dull that down a little bit, and we could make that work for us. You know what I mean?
Even some of the smaller churches being creative with how they're achieving. I know there's a few churches that I'm connected with in the States, the smaller ones, and some of the stuff they're doing was amazing. And straight away it's like, how can we pull that off, and what can we change, or let's get a better angle here, or
we had a few of that. We watched Steve-o online, and that was a few conversations. How can we do that? A few of them was like, with about $100,000, we can do that.
How can we do that for nothing?
For nothing. Your budget is nothing.
How can we do that? He's got a $500,000 moving video camera. How can we do that in?
We've got
we're walking around with a teenager.
It involves a scooter, a remote control car, and some gaffer tape.
Don't worry. There was a try for a drone. There was a try for.
We need a drone.
For what? Roxy's sitting there like, no, you do not need that.
She's the voice of reason.
That's right.
It's definitely required.
We do not need a drone in the church.
It's like, there's no one here. It's all right.
But it's like we can get some cool panning shots. It's like, no.
There's a reason the budget has to be approved by Roxy.
Everyone can be confident with their donations because of Roxy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good.
It's going to good.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. It's good. Like a lot of people have gone to online giving, you know, with that as well. So it has made people, I suppose, especially the older generation, sort of step into what's happening now, which has been great as well too. Because I think they get scared a little bit of change, you know. So you know, so that's been really good. But then we've had a lot of our older folk in the church. They've been the bedrock on you know this kind of time. They're the ones that are encouraging us to keep going. You know what I mean? So you'll get the message during the week and they'll be like, great job on the weekend. And, you know, so it has complemented each other. You know, the young people have jumped on board to keep things rolling. But then we've getting this real, you know, a lot of encouragement from them too, which is, you know, makes it all worthwhile.
Well, we do get a lot. I agree. Like that solid people in the church, you know, they might not be contributing in the sense of on a camera or doing the technical stuff, but every week without fail, you know, there's at least 3 or 4 families that will ring in and say that was great. It really helped me in this way, or this was really good. Or, you know, there's definitely no shortage of encouragement.
No.
Yeah. Because you don't know, especially when there's just a camera on the other side. Like you don't know, is this making an impact?
Exactly.
What we're doing, is it working? Because we understand it's not like what it used to be.
No.
Yeah.
It's to get that church atmosphere is quite a, you know, it's just such a different dynamic. You're at home, and we notice that, you know, there's things going on at home, and you're trying to set up that same atmosphere, and you know, maybe it's like you know, taking communion along with the service or something like that to try and get that same atmosphere. But there is something about when believers come together, and you can't mimic that over the camera, but we got to bring what we can. For this time. Well, we understand exactly.
Last week was my first one at home, as I said, and I didn't realize the challenges that you do have when, like, kids and, like, I don't know how, might not have had this conversation before, but wearing pants for church for the kids is, you know, like, no, you need to put pants on to do church. It's just one of those things you should be doing, even though you're at home, you know. Or we could all get on board and do a pants off Sunday.
Pants off Sunday.
Pants off Sunday.
I just didn't think that would be a conversation I would have to have.
Maybe you guys have missed that boat.
Yeah.
We'll just announce pants off Sunday at Living Word.
Man, Katie and I have watched you guys in bed, so you guys are all in. We're like, we just got the phones up and we're just chilling with coffee and that. So it's great. But that's been a good, in that sense, you know, this season's been good for that. But we're really ready to start getting back into that human connection, because you can't, like you said, Josh, it's something you can't mimic in a way. We try to do that. You know, but that human connection is just so important. You know, that's what church is about, isn't it?
That's right.
So there's nothing like a bunch of believers getting together. But I think too, for so long we have just been a bunch of believers getting together, and we haven't really taken a step to reach anyone on the outside. So I think that's sort of given us, now we've had to look at it and go, okay, not that we were doing things wrong, but how can we do it better? You know, so that's where we've really changed focus a lot, and we're going to start pushing towards when we get back together. So looking forward to it.
And that's like what we're talking about with the stream, keeping that going, because that's going out always. Whereas before, like you say, we were a bunch of believers getting together and ticking that box and not thinking about the people that weren't in the building or couldn't make it. You know, or, you know, couldn't be there for various reasons, which always happens. And even people connected with the different churches that, you know, can be receiving that way. I think that we look inwardly a lot, and this has forced us to view everyone, even the church members, as outwardly, because you couldn't get into the building. And I think that keeping our finger on the pulse once we can come and meet together, and making sure that they complement each other really well to where you can get that human connection, for us a little later than some. But, you know, we'll eventually, that's obviously the idea, is so we can have the hub here and have those connections, but then it still goes out, and we continue doing stuff like being creative with, you know, people being able to access the word, people being able to access what's going on without having to go. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Michael, when Nathaniel started coming to church a while back. He listened to pretty much all the podcasts first, and he was saying, like, he was nervous at the start. He was just by himself and he drove to the front gate like twice before he got the courage to just come in by himself.
Yeah.
But and like it was just sort of like that, but he sort of knew what we were about because of what was happening online.
Messages.
And we can lose that without that. That sort of was like, oh wow, it is sort of important to have those both complement each other.
Yeah.
And rather than, okay, we're back now, let's just drop this. I think there's a temptation of that too, because everyone can come back, and it comes back.
It was just too difficult or hard.
We can go back to judging people if they've showed up on time or not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we keep the mindset that it's an outreach, I really think, and keep that in mind on how important it is, because like in 2020, everyone, like people work on Sundays, you know what I mean? Sometimes people are sick, Now I think for the next 6 months to a year, if you're sick, you're not going to be going out anywhere. So, the fact, even up in Brisbane, like we might be able to go around, but
unless you're from Melbourne,
you've got to stay home. Well, that's true. But like for us, if you had the flu before, you could still go to church, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But we've got to stop people at the door now who have the flu and send them home.
Yeah.
So at least if they stay at home, they can still get fed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So but I think keeping that mindset that is an outreach is important. So hopefully, I know a lot of friends up here that have churches, they're going to stay with the online as well as going live.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I think I don't think things are going to get back to normal. I think it's just going to be a new normal.
Yeah.
So and it's not a surprise for God, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we just got to get on board with whatever the next plan is.
Yeah. How's Pastor Dwight handled the video camera dynamic? Because he was always pretty responsive with the crowd.
Yeah. So he, we've got bloopers because he's a dag.
That's like
and
Michael.
then you're like, and then you're like, okay, we can't even show that blooper. Do we have a legal team because we need one? So he's been really, really good. Like my dad is obviously loves banter and loves getting going with the crowd, and and had been preached 37 years we've had the church. He's been head pastors for this year, or 38 years. So it's a long time that they've been doing it for, and this is the first time that we've gone just straight up like that. So he's done really well, and like credit to both mum and dad. They are a little bit old school in that sense, but they are so keen for whatever is next. So they're really on board with anything changing. So which is really good, and I think it's important. Because like we say, things aren't going to be the same. So and being teachable on that side of things. Like he's always like, hey, whatever I need to do different, just let me know. Which is really cool. You've got someone that's a bit of a father in the faith, and it's cool that he's still teachable like that. So that's cool.
Being able to shift a little bit sideways rather than preaching and trying to capture that, because I don't think because I know you guys do a lot of on the couch, which is cool, relaxes in a little bit, and it's not the same as what it. So you just have to shift, and it's different. But it's in it, and that's the thing. You see it come out.
Well, the thing is, we started, we'd only been doing it probably, I don't know, it's maybe 4 months we've been doing it for. And we just didn't want to get in Groundhog Day with Sundays, when it's just the same thing again. Yep. So trying to switch it up a bit. So we had Peter Robinson and Cole Stringer and a few people through just to keep it different on the couch, keep it a bit more low key. And I think a lot of people appreciated that because they can see a different side to those people as well. It's not just... Sometimes when you get up behind the pulpit, it's just one side, you know what I mean? But then on the couch is a lot more low key, and so that was cool on that side of thing.
Yeah. It becomes a little bit more of a conversation similar to what you're trying to achieve here. Whereas preaching, and if you're not sort of careful, that just becomes talking at people. And it's really hard not to, because that's the format it is. You have to keep everything going, and you have to continue to talk, so it's hard to get different points of view from one person. That's sort of you sort of just got to receive what is on their heart, whereas you got multiple people, it becomes a little bit more flowy and flexible.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Well, especially in this day and age where, where Christians have been perceived as just judgies, so judgmental, just judgies, so whereas, and a lot of messages can be aimed at people like that, where, I believe with grace and, you guys are 100% on board with it as we are, where, you just want to show people the heart of the Father, and whatever they bring is what they bring. You know what I mean? Like, it's not up to us to judge them. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't die on the cross for your sins, so what am I going to, you know what I mean? So, but I think, like the congregation seeing, someone preach, but just seeing their humility and seeing, hey, they might struggle with things as well, but this is how they overcome them, is a better way than saying, hey, this is what you have to do, and if you don't do it, then, so I think
the problem
being genuine is
the moment you're that way, you mess up as a
church leader.
A church leader. Yeah. Basically, everyone underneath you falls. Like, it's just not a good model at all.
No, it's not. So it's cool that seeing, it's great with seeing what you guys are doing, and a lot of other people getting on board with that kind of message. I think it's going to reach a lot more people. Because we're under the microscope at the moment, being Christians, I think, and they're trying to catch us in any way possible, mainly to, for us to be judgy. But if you're not judging, you're just showing them the love of God, then, they got nothing to hit you with. So.
Yeah. And I think, especially at the moment, with it being so broadened, being on Facebook and YouTube, everywhere, everyone's everywhere, all of a sudden people are finding this stuff, and it's like, oh, well, that's very different from what I thought church was, or what I thought. Yeah. I had an idea of they just had a pass down of religion from 40 years ago or something, not a modern message of the gospel. So
we can, and I think that's our one job, is to show the heart of Christ across, to show his heart and his love for us. And I think that if we keep that the main point, rather than what we've done in the past is probably focus more on our side of the coin and how good we can be, and look, we're Christians, and people be attracted to that, rather than directing them straight to Jesus and saying, he's the perfect one.
Exactly.
Where we are not, he is. Yeah. And because people look at it and we're portraying, Christians are perfect, and they think, well, I could never be a part of that.
Yeah.
But when they say that he was perfect, when they see that he's perfect and he loves us just as we are, then they are a part of that. They don't have to become something to be a part of it. And I think that's the shift that's taken place, at least for us and here, that is definitely something that we've purposely focused on, was the heart of Christ, rather than our heart and how good we can be. And I think that
exactly.
It made a big difference in even how we're perceived, or how people can receive from that. And it's more of a natural, because it's really what it is. It's really a relationship that we have with Christ, rather than a performance-based thing. And in your personal relationships, that if it was solely performance-based, that it would always be up and down. And you never get that solid relationship that we have, what we can experience in Christ. So I found that so just to rest in his love, so relaxing and so restful, that you just receive it from him, rather than trying to be something that you're not.
Well, it takes the pressure off then, doesn't it? And then lets you be who he's created you to be, instead of you trying to be what you think you've got to be. And you'll probably start to see it now, having kids like you, and obviously Chris, you've had kids for a long time. But,
we don't talk about that for a long time.
But that kind of thing starts at home too. You know what I mean? It's what you teach your kids, and you start to live that lifestyle, and you have it in your house, and and then when they start taking the grasp of it, and you see them applying it in their everyday life, it's such a joy as well. So. That's one thing exciting about, as your kids get older, starting to impart that heart of the Father in. Because then it's real. It's not just what you you think you need to portray or put on.
Yeah.
You know, so
I guarantee no matter what you do at home, if you're doing something, the kids will mimic it, if that's good or bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, they're going to mimic it because they're miniature yous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just this tiny ball of you with no filter sometimes.
Yeah. So. It is scary times that they'll do it and you're like, do I do that?
Yeah. And your wife goes, yes, you do. So...
Yeah.
But
so how have you found that, like, raising kids in grace? Because I know a lot of people who profess that, grace and then raising the kids sort of discipline goes out the window. We try, you just let them do whatever they want. And that's the appearance of what grace message is to some people in the church, when really it's all about a relationship with Christ, which is very different to just, have at it, do whatever. So how have you guys found that experience raising your kids under that?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I was brought up, like, my father was a pastor, has been a pastor all of my life. Yep. They started the church when I was born. So, I've been brought up in that a pretty strong Christian household in the sense that discipline was real. So discipline was whatever was in reach, whether it was a garden hose or a golf club, fishing rod, but not to say that I was busy.
I bet you got off light.
Yeah. But in the sense that, they always disciplined us out of love. So whenever we were disciplined, even if it was you sent to your room to, possibly get a smack or something like that, Dad would always sit us down and talk to us about it. It wasn't just beat us out of anger, and I think that's a lot of people see discipline as, and that's where a lot of people see discipline as you're angry. And it is hard. Like, I've done it before. My kids are 9 and 7 at the moment. And there's been times in those years where I've probably disciplined out of anger, because you're annoyed, you're frustrated, you could be tired, could be just a heap of things, you know what I mean? So, and you've really got to pull yourself aside and go, okay, this is not the right way to do it. I need to discipline out of love, and sitting down with them like my father did to me and say, look, this hurts me as much. Well, this is what he always used to say. You
never agree when you're a kid.
It's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, mum used to say that too.
Stop smiling.
Stop smiling.
So, but, having that mindset of, just teaching them why you're doing it. I'm doing this because I love you. I want to see you succeed, and there's some areas that we need to tidy up. So, that's being good, and it also is freeing in a way that you can talk to your kids about why you're disciplining them, and there's a reason why. It's not just because they're bad. It's because you want them to succeed, and you can say to them, hey, I fall in this area as well. Let's talk about it. So
there's someone looking through your window.
Hi, Katie.
Quick, get the golf club. No.
Is there anyone there? No, they walked inside.
But no, I know that's a big thing in my household, because in my younger days I struggled with a bit of anger things, and we made a deliberate decision to never discipline when I was angry, because it's something that you can't mix. The moment you're angry, you're not disciplining. Like, it's just not the way it's done. So it was a deliberate decision we do in our house, and it's a sit down, a conversation, and then there's discipline.
Yeah, whatever that consequence may be, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I think in this day and age, it's, you probably could have got smacked a lot more in public back when we were younger. But,
it didn't matter where you were.
It didn't matter where you were, you know what I mean? But you've got to be a little bit more, smart about how you do it and portray it. And I think...
so they don't show any bruises.
Under clotheslines,
just in the clothesline.
Years of training and practice.
A big thing is doing it early. When they're young. Disciplining them there, because that makes the later years easier. Not to say that it's not easy when they're teenagers, because we all know teenagers are fantastic. We've all been. But it does make it a lot easier.
Well, a smack doesn't really work on a 16-year-old, especially when they're bigger than you.
I don't know. Chris is the only one with teenagers here, so
well, my eldest, he's getting up there now. He's way taller than all of us. So if that groundwork wasn't done early, you got no hope.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Yeah, and especially in this day and age where you've got so many people, like there's a rights thing. It's my right, so, and especially with that generation coming up, like they straight up, they'd be like, oh, this is child abuse. It's my right to act like this. You know what I mean?
Call the police.
Yeah. So getting onto that early, I think, is important, but just teaching them the importance of it as well definitely helps. So
I think they're great.
I suppose that's helped.
Yeah, I think they're great points, like coming away from the anger and away from the... See, what we've done with discipline, I think, for a long time, especially with grace and the grace message that comes into church, we have seen the bad parts of discipline, which is disciplining in anger. Like we're talking about over the top.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff. And we've gone, discipline's bad. Because we've seen it done in anger, or even ourselves, we've done it in anger and go, oh, maybe disciplining is not a thing. When really, if we look at it and take a step back and we have that conversation first, we do it with a calm head, even if it has to be delayed or anything like that. Then all of a sudden, it's gone from a reaction to maybe a negative and what bad has happened to a building up and relational. Which is what grace is all about. It's about a relationship with Christ and lifting one another up. And so now what we've done and changed it from tearing down to from that negative side of things, that you've done this wrong, pointing out how bad you've been or whatever, and things out of frustration rather than explaining. No, I want you to actually excel rather than continue down this path, and it just changes the whole thing.
Discipline is not fun. As the discipliner, it's not a fun thing to have to do. And I never understood that as a kid when my dad used to, because same deal, this hurts me more than you. I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm the one getting beaten. But it isn't a fun thing to do. Like, I've got way better things to sit there and have to discipline. But you have to, if you love your kids, which hopefully, that's a thing we do. It's something you have to do. And actually thinking about it now in that sense of the relationship with our father, like the big father, the one that doesn't beat me with a stick. That's the price he had to pay because of our, and it's the same sort of thing. And it's out of love that he had to do that, not because he wanted to.
I just started thinking, and this might open a different can of worms, but that whole idea that some people get out of God as a negative one, that he's disciplining out of action, like anger and reaction. And that's how we get these, theologies of, God brings disease, or
what did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong?
Sick and,
rather than that from love. And that side of things. And I think we can get this, like we talk about a lot, that Jesus brought the idea of God as the Father. That was the revelation that he brought, and that's how he wanted us to view God as our Father. And that was a radical change of, not so much today because we've heard it for so long, but at the time that was sort of, that was taboo at the time, because it was he was God, it was something so far away and so distant, and he was bringing this relationship together. And I think that we can have a skewed idea of discipline maybe from our own experiences, and we've portrayed that on God rather than seeing it as a relationship that he wants us to succeed. He wants us to go further than just heading down these destructive paths, whatever they may be. And so I'm sort of just talking now, seeing how we got to that point of seeing,
God in that light.
God in that light of bringing disease or bringing pain, which is not in him. And he is love, and we've seen that. And it's just seeing how we
and
get
also
there.
the element of now you're seeing people, let's follow the grace message because then I can just do whatever I feel like doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's just the bratty kid that no one wants to hang out with. That's the difference element of, God's still correcting you and reshifting things, but grace is He's giving you the ability to do it, not the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Whereas you fell short, so you're going to get punished.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then it becomes, well, I always fall short, so forget this. I'm just going to give up on Christianity because I fall short.
Yeah.
So why bother?
Yeah.
Whereas it's coming from the opposite. It's you're receiving it first, and then He's correcting and changing things for you to be able to become that person. No different than with kids, because you see that now, like you said, that generation that's coming up that can't have correction, and then you see them coming into the workforce now, and it's like they get told. I was speaking to a guy the other day. He had the apprentice there, and he told him he needed to, he needed to get his hours up and get a bit more production happening in a factory. And he said the guy cried for an hour because he got told that he needed to, did pick it up a little bit, to get some pace on and all that. He just couldn't handle it. It's like, that was it. He'd failed and, just give up. And, it's like, well, what sort of upbringing did you have that's what ends up happening? He's like, no, it wasn't like I yelled at the guys. Like, we just sat down, had a chat, how we needed to bring things up a little bit. That was it. That was like...
And I think that's the only reaction to that, though, if it's give up.
Yeah.
Without discipline or a change, a course of change.
Yeah.
And you can do this, like, let's say for the church, for example, something like this happens, and I know that, everyone's life was affected in some way. If you didn't adapt or change, it was just give up.
Yeah.
That was our options. And I think that if you don't receive, and we've always viewed correction as a negative light, but it's even if you're just correcting a course, we don't even like that. And sometimes we think, we got it wrong. Yeah. But really it's just to change a course, and then we think, we'll just give up then because I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
And we have that idea of, if I didn't do it right, I must give up.
Yeah.
Well, back to what you were saying, Michael, with, when you have that, people think the ultra grace message means you can do whatever you want. But when you mix, like, grace doesn't work without the relationship with God. You know what I mean? So when you mix that relationship with the grace, because you see His true heart of the Father, then it makes you not want to do those things. You know what I mean? Like, it actually helps you in that respect, whatever it is, whatever, we all deal with things, being natural human beings. And, when you mix that relationship with the Father and then know that you've got that grace instead of, He's going to judge you at every turn, every corner, it actually, it's so much more freeing. So, and I think teaching people that who aren't on that vein, is so important, and I think it's so freeing as well. So I think that's a message which is really going to take off, even though it has taken off the last couple of years for sure. Yeah. But I think, especially now more than ever, because people they constantly think it's, it's the old Newton's law, isn't it? Like, there's, for every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
And they think sometimes that God's like that, and even non-Christians think, or even people that don't believe there's a God will talk about God like that. Yeah. And you're like, hold up, but you don't believe there's a God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I don't believe that he was real, but if he was,
if he was, this is because of this reason.
Yeah.
So I think that's such an important and integral part of the church moving into 2020 plus. And I think that's going to bring so many people back to Christ. And I think in this day and age, like, because everyone's under stress at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, we've got work problems in Australia, obviously, because a lot of people can't work, and there's going to be, just being real, there's going to be some unemployment issues over the next couple of years. 100%. Sure. There's going to be businesses and companies closing down. And like we run a building company, we've had to make smart decisions to make sure our business gets through it, on a natural level, like we have faith in God in it, but on a natural level, you got to be smart too, so a lot of people are going to be under stress at the moment. Mental health's a huge thing because people are stuck at home with no connection. Like there's all these things which are going to actually make people start searching for something, because everyone who's not a Christian has this hole inside of them that they try to fill it with something, whether it's, social media or it could be money or, some kind of abuse. They try to fill it with something until they find God, so that's why it's so important having that message right, and getting it out there. And we've been talking about a few things, and Grace has been one of them, but also that platform back again with the church. As much as we can get this message out, is so important. To be honest, I'm really excited with what's going to happen. So I can see that. I know there was an article that came out because Dad mentioned to me about church attendance is being down at the moment in places where they can have church.
In Melbourne,
because definitely down. Definitely down in Melbourne.
Apparently not.
But I think that comes back to like people being fearful, and it's probably not. They're not under that grace message. You know what I mean? Whereas we've had such a great response from our congregation. Like everyone's just raring to get back together. Because it's that building that community at church too, where I believe every church is there for a reason, because we're so diverse. So you'll have church that suits young people. You'll have church that suits old people. You'll have all these, big churches, small churches, because everyone's different. Everyone will appeal to every different kind of thing. So, I think it's so important to make sure that we're all individual in that respect. I am really excited to see how the church grows and how we can influence people getting back into it. So, well, in Queensland.
You talked about mental health before, and I think that's something it's been brought up a fair bit lately, even in a natural sense, because I think that, like you say, it's fairly isolating. People who don't go to work or all work from home, I know that's a challenge. And then there's another part of it to where maybe in Queensland there's some hope now, light at the end of the tunnel, but heading back into like second round or second wave, whatever you want to call it, that it's like, is this ever going to end? Is it the first one? If it goes on too long, this will be the end. And then, you go into a second round, and then it's like, if this go, how are we going to recover from this or anything? So it looks bleak and there's no hope. And when you get to a situation where there's no hope, you tend to, like we talked about before, give up or subtract or don't put anything into it anymore. And then there's certain things that suffer. And even if you hadn't suffered from mental health before, that you can sort of enter that stage of opening yourself up to that. Because things look so bleak. And that's just a very, like a very basic view of mental health, as opposed to, because it's so broad. And I think that you can get into that place, and I think that, like we talked about with the message of grace and understanding that he cares for us and he loves us, and finding out the heart of the Father, like you talked about before, that we can actually receive from a place of isolation, and that there is still hope, and we will come out the other side of this, and have that message of hope, not of it's all going to, because if you watch anything at the moment, it's sort of like, this is it. This is it. Like, it's everything's so final. If we we just survived the first wave, but it's coming again. And so we sort of ramp up the whole story again, and we rerun all these stories. And our life can be like that. I don't know if you've known that before, where you feel like you're getting out of something, whether it's an addiction or something you struggled with for so long. And then you fall or you do something wrong again the second time, and it's like, I'm stuck in this forever. And so it's like, this will never change, and we can go under a really dangerous area there where we have this view of it'll always be like this. Never recover.
You put that into the mindset of what we're talking about before, about having that hole or that something missing. There actually isn't a hope. If you don't have that next thing past what we have here on this world, what is next? If this is the end, this is the end.
Yeah.
And so, you're stuck at home, you got your thoughts, there's obviously a hole you're trying to fill, and you've got nothing past that.
Yep.
That's a pretty bleak future, really, and it's only going to get worse. So
that's true, and I think into like in the respect of mental health, like so many people it's been such a taboo subject, where people they've either ignored it or haven't talked about it, and even the generation before us ignored it. It was just toughen up and get over it kind of thing. So I think it's definitely a strong subject, especially in the church, that needs to be addressed and continually addressed, because there is a lot of people suffering, and if people were more honest with each other, I think I think there's statistics about 1 in 6 people suffer from mental health at some stage. I actually think that is way higher.
I think it's way higher.
And whatever your level, and it can be, like you said, Josh, there's so many different broader levels of mental health, whether it could just be an anxiety issue through to something so severe as suicidal thoughts and tendencies, you know what I mean? And obviously there's great doctors and things to help people in, various areas. But this is the time where, it's going to affect people most when they're under so much stress, so... and that's why the message of grace is so important and that kind of thing. But I think not ignoring how you're feeling as well is such an important thing. So
you talked about those severe, like right up to suicidal thoughts, and then just anxiety and things like. I shouldn't say just anxiety, but in the church, we've seen, and I believe a lot of people in the church struggle with this more than they like to admit. I think we'll pray it away. And like Jeremy was just mentioning, there's obviously doctors and things out there that if you are struggling with that, contact someone, get into contact with someone. It's sort of like with health in general in the church, we pray, and you go to the doctors. We recommend that. But with mental health, it's sort of like different rules. Like if you go to the doctors, you're sort of accepting defeat or whatever. But I heard someone talk about, you treat sickness like a street fight. You hit it from every front. Same with mental health. Absolutely. You pray, call the pastor. But if you need help, call for help. And I think that's something that we haven't, it'll be right, or we'll pray for you, or and using that rather than in the powerful sense as the placebo, we'll pray for you, it'll be okay sort of thing, but rather than don't just let that linger. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ring up, and even in the church, yes, we believe, we'll pray, we'll agree with you, but also seek medical advice and stuff like that. You can have great systems and things in place.
Well, I think like God created doctors. For a reason, for our body, for our physical body. So that's for our health. Mental health is the same thing. It's part of your body. It's called health for a reason. And a lot of times, whether it's there can be chemical imbalances that need to get sorted out, and that can be sorted out by medicine done right. And also it can just be decisions that you've made that's got you to that place as well, or wrong thought patterns in the way you think and that kind of thing. So, and sometimes when you're in that place, nothing can't be assessed until you talk to someone and actually get it out of
talk
your
to someone
head.
from the outside too, looking in. When you're stuck in it, there's no future, there's no hope. But you get someone else who's, trained in that area and can help you, help a pathway out. In that natural pathway out too.
Even besides that, when you talk with someone, just talking over things, you answer your own questions. But when 100%. When you're talking with them and you're just chatting and they're putting things and ideas back at you, and it's just getting yourself out there. It's like, no, it's not that bad, But you're panicking at that stage because you've mulled over it in your head for 3 days.
I think it's a lot to do with the people you have around you too, which is why it's hard in these circumstances. I know, we've got like my family history. We've actually got quite a bit of mental health, including suicide like down that line. And I know that from a lot, like we're in churches that believe in like faith and healing and scripture, like, you know, we're all in that.
Yeah.
But it took someone else recognizing that, hey, there's a problem, because when you're in it, sometimes you don't see it. It's actually sometimes not even in your thought process that this can be fixed. So, you know, it's a lot of thought to go to that why our network is gone by people that are surrounding us. That mental health thing really can fall to people that you might have contact with, not necessarily the person in it. Because it said from my experience, a lot of the time you don't see it, and even if you do see it, you have no idea how you're going to fix it.
Once it's at that
how
stage,
are they going to help?
I can't be. It's gone. It's a lost cause.
Yeah.
And if your head's not working right, it doesn't matter what scriptures you read. It doesn't matter what someone tells you. If your head's telling you that, you know, whatever it is it's telling you, you'd actually have no avenue to argue with it. So the people around you can be a massive deal. And at the moment, there's no one around you. That's a pretty bad spot to be.
And it's I've heard it said so many times, like you show me your 5 closest friends and I'll tell you your future. You know what I mean? Like it's such a common thing that's been used in the world, but it's true for everyone. Like who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, like are they positive people or are they negative people? You know, like if you have a tendency to think one way, then, you know, you need to surround yourself with the right people who are going to build you up, you know? So, but also having that mindset, like you said, you can't pray things away sometimes. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be practical steps. And I believe in prayer. Like prayer is huge, but you've also go to the next level. I believe in the Bible. Yeah, that's huge too. But there's other steps that you need to take to keep yourself strong. You know what I mean? And
especially you mentioned before about the things that we're doing maybe causing it. So you're on this merry-go-round that you know, we're trying to pray away, but we're not changing something that will actually lead us down in that path. Or when we pray, we're not receiving, we're not listening for the answers. We just want to, you know, we want this fixed.
You get bucketing out the boat. Like you're just trying to keep water out. But you don't look at what the problem is. You're just trying to, I'm just trying to get water out of the boat. And so you get stuck in that rut of just doing that.
But I think the greatest mindset to have in change is, you know, if you can keep reminding yourself that that you can grow through anything. You know what I mean? So you know, we all go through struggles, but if you can think, okay, I'm in a really crappy place right now. How can I grow through this, you know, to be better, you know, to be stronger? And you know, what can I do? What are some practical steps to get me out of this position? You know, so I think when you have that mindset that, you know, because in the Bible it talks about that we're constantly being perfected. You know, God's constantly, he started a good work in you, and he's going to finish it. You know, so having that mindset that, hey, I'm in a place now, but he said he's going to finish it. So how can I do that? You know, so it's continually renewing your mind, continually changing those things. And that doesn't happen. You know, we're in an instantaneous age at the moment. Like whatever we want, we can have it like this. You know what I mean? Like I was even looking the other day, our mattress at home's terrible. And I said to Katie, let's get in your bed. And we looked online and there's those koala mattresses. And they're like, you can have this in 4 hours. So if I paid for it, they would have it on my doorstep in 4 hours.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? That's the age, like my kids, they're on Netflix. Whatever they want to watch, they watch it straight away. You know, like we were watching Channel 9 the other day, or I don't know what it was. I can't even remember. And an ad came on and they're like, what's this? And I'm like, you have no idea. You guys watch whatever you want. Whatever you want. Back in the day.
Back in my day.
Exactly, I know. We had to wait for Saturday morning for cartoons. Or
Saturday mornings only.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on as soon as you got home from school. You know what I mean? Like, that was how we grew up. You know, you had to wait. You know, but
I have to watch TV in this time frame.
I've got orders that still haven't been shipped yet, so still.
But hey, that comes back to that mindset. Like people want things to change straight away. So when they're feeling a certain way, I just want to be healed like now. You know what I mean? But I think there's so much growth that you can. And your faith can be strengthened by sometimes that little bit of stretching out in length, you know. So, and it does. Growth only happens when there's resistance, you know. So it doesn't. whatever it is, like I go to the gym a lot, and you're never going to build muscle just from going to the gym once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it takes time and time and time again. And sometimes it's the same like that with our faith. And it's the same like that with our mental health. It's those consistent decisions that you make every day.
Yeah.
Even under resistance, like what you're saying, consistently making those decisions under resistance will have a dramatic effect on your life. Whether it's be who to hang around or who not to hang around. If you're in a bad state and you're not talking to someone who's going to bring you or lock you into that, or even the outlook, and we talked about and there's so many various levels like what we talked about before, and so our response has to be according to what we're facing. But no amount of resistance has to be the end. And I think that we've sometimes, there's too much resistance now, so it's the end. We give up. Rather than continuing in it and having hope and continuing to make those choices, make those decisions. And you see that over time.
Well, I suppose too, like being Christians, it's where you feed yourself as well. Like it's where are you getting fed? Like if you are struggling in a certain area, take note of that. You know what I mean? Like self-analyzing is such an important thing where you can look at yourself and go, okay, I'm really anxious at the moment. So, anxiety comes from your fear of the future, the fear of the uncertain. So why am I feeling this way? Okay, well, have a think about it. It's because I've got this thing coming up, or I may not have work next week, or you know what I mean? So then you can try to locate why you're feeling that way and then work a way around it. You know what I mean? So it's just as little as those little self-reflection things can be so important. And then you can go to the scripture and actually go to something that's going to actually be relevant to your situation. Not just reading the Bible front to back, because I don't know about you guys. Like if I just sit down and read for half an hour of the Bible, it's just like I won't remember anything.
No.
You know what I mean? But if I focus on a chapter at a time, a couple of months ago, I just started reading Luke, just one chapter at a time before I was going to bed. Just because there was no reason. I just thought, hey, cool. I want to read Luke and just his account of the gospel. So and just doing a chapter at a time actually brought so much more light to what I was reading. Because you can actually sit back and reflect on it. You know what I mean? So I think where you feed yourself is so important.
And you can even listen to messages accordingly too. Like we're talking about anxiety now. That may be whatever insert subject here. But you can pretty much Google or YouTube from people that you receive from and respect that messages, and 9 times out of 10 they have a message on that subject that we're facing right now, and you can receive it. It just pinpoints it, and it becomes so relevant to you rather than just waiting for a message to come your way to answer a question that you had.
Or even binge reading the Bible. I know plenty of people that know the Bible better than I do, in the sense of what it says, but has no idea on what it says. It's a different way of reading it.
Yeah,
100%. It's so true. I think also with the content that's coming out now, I think a lot of people are addressing a lot of issues that haven't been addressed in the past in the church. So whereas a lot more people are preaching on mental health and giving some practical things for people in the church to deal with, because it was such a taboo subject and taboo. And the other one was. Have you guys Transformation Church in the States? What's that dude's name?
I was doing this last week.
I've heard the name of the church, but
he's been on.
He's on it. He's good.
I'm on it. Wait a sec. Transformation Church. Okay. No name. It is a church.
What's his name? Mike Todd.
Mike Todd.
I had the voice go. I could hear that go too.
Katie's in the other room. But, the stuff that like they're hitting on at the moment is so relevant. You know what I mean? And stuff that's never been preached before. Like last week he preached on pornography. You know what I mean? Like, how often have you heard someone actually talk about that in depth? But he spoke about his struggle with it. You know, like, so I think these things are so important, which need to be preached. You know what I mean? Instead of just preaching on faith and how to get it. You know what I mean? Or you know, because like, you know, so many people just preach on one subject.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But taking that into practical things, like he was speaking about, like, you know, the hold that it had on him up until only 5 years ago, and he's been pastoring for such a long time. But being bold enough to be, hey, I fell short, but God was there to catch me. And this is how I got through it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it was such a powerful thing to hear from someone at that level to be like, I got it wrong. You know what I mean? But, you know, with God, this is how I beat it, you know? So pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah. I'm glad Katie was there because I'm on their website and I still don't know who is.
Hey, on another level, but how cool is that you can have a church website and it's not all about the head pastor? So, because I only say that because Katie's, I only say that because Katie's redoing all of our stuff at church, and so we've been looking around at everyone else's websites, and you know, some of them you do have, it's just pretty much advertising for some people at the church and nothing else, instead of saying what the church is about.
That's what Josh requested.
It's all about
my face
me.
needs to be on the front.
That's right. Yeah,
just get
it's not big enough.
My good side, not the bad. No. Who am I kidding? I don't have a bad side.
No. No, it is definitely one of those where, like, even on general health, I think that's one thing that really the church has sort of gone away from. That just you know, if you run into a problem, you'll just pray about it and it'll all go away. Like, just not taking not just the general physical element. You have physical flesh that you live in. So that's going to need physical, fleshly nourishment. Like, we separate that and think, you know, oh, we're a spirit being. We are. And we nourish that and we take care of that, and that's how we think. But you've also got the physical element as well. And people ignore that and just go on and go, you know, oh, that's not important. I don't need to worry about it. I don't have time for that. And then they're like, well, why am I so exhausted? You know, why do I feel so bad all the time? Every time I want to go do something, I can't go and do it. And, they just sort of ditch that side of life and ignore it.
I feel bad. I was on the wrong website. I gave him props, but there's a big photo of... It's Mike Todd, just in case you're wondering.
You were just saying prophetically, this is how he should do the next one.
I was at the wrong Transformation Church, but anyway. Sorry.
That's hilarious.
What were you talking about?
You didn't have to bring that up. You could have kept that to yourself.
I could have,
You just lost the sponsor.
Yeah. But it is like what you're saying, Michael. It is so important because we were given this body for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, why abuse it in the sense that and not look after it? You know, and it comes back to eating well, exercising. You know, they're important parts to your health and your mental health as well. You know, like food and exercise is a huge part. So, you know, I always think it's so important to you know, and everyone's different. Like, some people hate exercise. That's okay. You know what I mean? But you can't disregard it and then wonder why you feel a certain way as well.
I just noticed the difference for myself when started doing training and that. And it's like, you know, afterwards, it's like, I feel so alive, you know? All this energy. And
your problem is, Michael, I feel so alive, I'll eat a pack of chips. I know what you do.
I get home and eat and eat and eat.
But that's okay. Like, to be honest, like I work out so I can eat whatever I want.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's the same thing too. But I really did. Like, I just felt more energy doing that.
It goes back to those choices that we talked about before, and even making them under pressure. We think sometimes we can go on, we can eat well for a time. And recently, I don't know if the camera shows this, but Chris and I've
About to say, we can include the conversation now, because like before I was like, hide the fat. So, good side. So yes,
lost about 45 kilos.
Let's talk about how
anyway,
eating healthy is a good idea.
But it was from a decision that was made back at the beginning of the year,
from competition.
And a little bit of healthy competition of I'm not going to be the fat one in the relationship.
I'd like to point out now, he's the fat one in the relationship.
I am the more muscular one in the relationship. Yes. So it goes back from there's all sorts of different diets and things that you can go from, but it was really only choices.
It wasn't a diet that did it.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what diet we picked. It had nothing to do with the diet we picked.
Yeah.
It was, we got to a point where we're going, that's it, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Because we used to frequent this place in Geelong called Uncle Donut. Shout out for a sponsor, Uncle Donut.
By the way, it's the best cinnamon rolls ever. Like, I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah. Anyway,
Unreal.
so we used to
bought me one.
we have bought them. They just never made it back.
Never made it back. You had an intention of bringing me one, but never made it in.
We're laughing, but that has happened.
And so...
I was just going to say, speaking, we're talking about health here in a second, and I can see we've got a nice sparkling water on Josh's side.
Yep.
Lightly
I just sit this down
we
here.
did mention that Michael's the one that eats whatever he wants. We usually come in, he'll have a bag of lollies, a bag of chips, and a Coke. You're like, that's not good.
That's why I go to training for 2 hours every week.
Every week.
Every week.
Once a week.
Once a week.
Whether I need it or not. Go followed along by the once a week shower. No. But it did stem from that choices. And there's
that wasn't me.
Okay, I don't know where that came from. But I'm hearing voices.
I know. So I was hearing it before as well. I'm like, is that just me?
So you go from a place of just eating that, just doing because it's there. Oh, this is what we did. You go get that. And to actually, it had to be a proper choice. Like, I'm not going to eat this anymore.
Yeah.
There was a change. And it wasn't like, oh, we did this, or, people can ask, oh, what did you do?
Made a decision.
We ate less is basically what we did. But it was a multiple, and it wasn't just that first choice. We're going on a diet. That was... That was the beginning of many. It's when you're really hungry. And
it wasn't even a diet. It was a decision that where we were was not a good place.
Yeah.
It's like, we are not healthy. This is not going well.
Because we'd have these conversations about, we're just big bone. This is just the body shape.
If I lost 10 kilos, I'd look stupid.
We've had those next minute 30 kilos later.
30 kilos later, I'm like, I could probably still lose a little more.
But you have this idea and you talk yourself out of it, and it can be like that in anything in life where, whatever we accept is where you'll stay.
Yeah.
You have to get to this place of, what are those changes? And like you talked about, and they're actually smaller than you think.
Yeah.
It's not the big... It wasn't this, I'm going on this diet for this amount of time and I'm going to do this amount of exercises. It was just so many small choices that if you make the one small one, of course, we've eaten stuff in between and we've gone, well, that looks so good, I'm just going to eat that. And we eat it. And then you have, like in betting, bet regret. You have that eat regret, as soon as you do it. And you realize, but after a while, it's easier to make those smaller choices. You don't do this big one. It's just like, this is going to be better for me if I don't eat this. It's
not like today, you went egg and bacon and I went avocado. Just saying, right decision.
You should have gone avocado, egg, and bacon.
You had regret.
No. I was the veggie today. I did avocado with halloumi.
So, watch out. But see, like you're saying, but it does come down to accountability, and that's in every area of our life, isn't it? It can be in yourself physically, it can be in your spiritual life.
Yeah.
Anything. It comes back down to accountability and holding yourself accountable. Because at the end of the day, it's up to you and no one else.
Yeah.
So, and like what Michael was saying before about, when you get to a place where you're like, I'm so tired and all of that. And like that comes too from, I watched a podcast recently on, I don't know if you guys have heard of Craig Groeschel before.
Got a real small church.
Just a little thing going on.
Yeah, just a little church with like not many employees. Yeah.
Should I see if
We'll see what his webpage does.
Look at his webpage.
Have a look it up. One of them, he was like, there was 500 employees or something. I was like, 500 employees?
Yeah.
Like, and this is just a church. But he did a great podcast.
He's not there.
He's not there. There you go.
Oh, how good's that?
Yeah, he's in a little small video. Yeah. Props to Craig.
He did a great podcast on... Where is it?
We'll have him on the show.
Yeah, we'll
have him on the show. Sure. Yeah. But it was on the art of energy management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he speaks along the sides of, it's not just like he brings it in with like your spiritual energy and your physical energy. And it's a really awesome thing. Once you look at it, you can actually analyze yourself and be accountable for a few things that you might not be doing right. Like you might be focusing too much on the spiritual side of things and you're really not feeding your natural side of things. But he puts it onto 4 different stages and 4 different levels. And I got a lot out of it. It was really good because obviously like you guys as well, like, we all work, we're involved with church, we have families, and you like to keep yourself healthy. So there's so many different areas that you've got to keep on top of.
Yeah.
But you can't just focus on one or else the other ones fall behind. You know what I mean? So, but it all comes back to that accountability thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And managing those and realizing, because we think, we've got to make this big decision based upon our health. And really, like we talked about before, and you can do the same with, like, you can make big spiritual decisions, like I'm going to church or something like that, but then we neglect our spirit throughout the week. And it's only the church. Because we've made the big decision, we think that's changed like our whole spiritual side, when it's really something that we feed the right things or the wrong things, and just, there are a lot of similarities across the board there. I saw a thing on Craig Rochelle. He works out before he preaches too. So
he's got some serious guns.
He does. So he looks really buff.
He looks,
he does look buff. I'm a little jealous. And so
that's hilarious.
Yeah. He's got a little gym set up. He goes to gym before he goes to church.
Yeah. Well, to be honest,
whatever.
But even I think Stephen Furtick says that he spends more time down in his gym, and that's where he gets his a lot of his messages from. But back on that, like Katie was telling me, she watched the thing on Craig Rochelle, and he was talking about how he got burnt out a couple of years ago and went through a real low emotional point in his life. And someone of that stature, you'd think, they'd have it all together. Look what God's doing in their life, and you know what I mean. But he pushed himself too hard without holding himself accountable in these other areas, which were feeding him personally. So I think really looking at that from day dot and just trying to set those principles up right is so important.
Yeah.
I was watching. I listen to lots of podcasts when I'm at work, just from all different walks of life. And there's a guy in the States called Joe Rogan. He's an MMA fighter, but he does podcasts, and a lot of the times they're pretty crazy. And it's
I'm about to say, you got to put a disclaimer in there. Yeah. We are not saying we should listen to this.
don't listen. But what I like to do, I like to listen to all different sides of just the walks of life. You know what I mean? And obviously I'm selected in what I'm watching. But he had this guy on, and who was a very successful person, and they were talking about how they can never fill a hole, but they were talking from a non-Christian point of view about you just want more and more and more and more, and doesn't matter how many girls and money and all this stuff, they just can't. And they were just like, I don't know what it is, we just can't fill this hole, and they were just open about it. You know what I mean? And that's where the world's at. They've it's just this hole which you can't fill without Christ. So. When I listened to it, I was like, oh man, the world needs this so much, and we always say it, but it's a matter of, getting it to them in a practical way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now he can listen to himself on a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go to work tomorrow, listen to yourself.
Yeah, but I know for me that when because I was working for the church up there for a long time up in Brisbane, and my first time back in the workforce when I got to England, it was a massive surprise for me that, around non-Christians. It's the same deal. You forget that there is another side to this. There's people out there who don't know who Jesus is or what goes on in a church or have no idea about what there is in the Bible that could help them. But until you revisit that, you forget.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's what we've tried to bring back to in our church in this next season is pulling the Christianese out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like we being Christians for so long, we talk a certain way. And you even when you get up and you pray for people sometimes, or you pray, it's just sometimes you're just saying things that sound good. That you think that you think
this is what I'm meant to say.
This is what I'm supposed to say. You know what I mean? Instead of just actually being real and honest. And that's where the relationship I think to grow your relationship with the Father, with God, is being open in conversation with Him, not just praying these prayers that you think you need to pray. You know what I mean? Or so I think that's really important in growing that next step personally with God is like talking to Him as you would, talk to a friend.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Because that's, that's who He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think that, people want help, they'll just come into church. But like you said before, they don't even know what goes on.
Yeah.
They don't even know that it's can help or that anyone cares.
Yeah.
Or that there's normal people there.
There's normal people there. Wow, that's debatable. No. What's normal anyway?
Yeah, but we've had that at work so many times where, it won't be for a little while and they'll be like, you'll just drop something like, they'll go, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, what's that church? And they're like, what, you go to church? Yeah, I go to church. And then they're like, oh, so you're a Christian? You're like, yeah, I'm a Christian. Like, and it's not like, because the first time I met them, I didn't try to throw Jesus down their throat or beat them with the Bible. I was just being normal, just a normal human being. And I believe the biggest witness is your life, not out there on a street corner yelling at people. People should look at you and see, hey, there's something different about them. And then I believe God gives you that opportunity to talk to them about that. So I think your greatest witness is for us to show just from our life and who we are. And that was a big part of us with the gym we go to. Like, we didn't want to go in there and just be straight up bashing people with the Bible. You know what I mean? Like we went there for months and months and months, even, over a year before anyone knew. Like, I would say if they asked, what did you do on the weekend? I went to church, whatever. But before, it wasn't something that we wanted to throw down their throat, because we wanted to see us as normal people, who we are, because, there's been such a bad image, a PR bad image scene that's been out there about Christians, you know what I mean? So that we're judgy and all this kind of stuff. To the point where we had, touchy subject with some Christians, but there's a lesbian couple at the gym who we're great friends with, and they invited us to their engagement party. And it's like, okay, so we're Christians. But it's not my job to judge. It's my job to show God's love. But where would Jesus be if he was on the earth at the moment?
And if you're not friends or if you're not part of those people's lives, how do you show love? Like you have to be
exactly. And there's no, and that's where it comes back to. You know what? It is not. It's not our position to judge people. You don't know anything about their life. It's not our position to be like that. It's ours just to show the love of God.
Yeah.
He'll do the rest. You know what I mean? So. So that's the mindset you got to have, and that's freeing in itself, because then you don't have to try to justify anything.
Yeah.
Well, and the pressures of too. It's not my job to go out and fix everything or to change people or to that's not my job. It's a lot more freeing.
Yeah, 100%.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. We better let you go. It's getting dark there.
I see. Yeah, it's getting dark in Queensland.
What's it, 20 to 6? Yep, it's getting dark.
Yeah.
That looks like about us at lunchtime.
It's been dark all day. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's just the lingering death.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to get a bit cool up there. It's probably about 18 degrees.
Yeah.
I remember when it was 18 degrees.
We had hail yesterday.
That was sleet.
Yeah.
That was
getting...
Seriously.
It covered everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Last time we were in Melbourne we did the Great Ocean Road when a cold front hit, and it was like 50 km/h winds, and it was like 0 degrees.
Yep.
And I swear we thought the world was ending.
Little did you know it actually was.
Hey, I came here from England, and the last couple of days have been miserable. So when the guy from England says it's miserable, you know it's miserable.
Says it's miserable. Yeah. So, it's been a pleasure, mate.
Thank you
very much. Having us on.
Yeah, we've been good.
Catch you next time. Thank you all. Subscribe, share it.
All right, guys.
Talk to you later.